Well, good morning and welcome to our Wednesday morning devotionals. This coming Sunday, we are going to be celebrating Christ the King. And so the readings for Christ the King are from the 7th chapter of Daniel, verses 9 to 10 and 13 to 14. And I should have somebody else.
Psalm 93.
Yeah. Revelation 1, 4b to 8.
And John 18, 33 to 37.
There you go.
And one thing you did so nicely this week is you put the bulletin and the readings on Facebook.
Yes.
So hopefully all of you have seen that prior to this devotion, and you could maybe have read through them or found them in your Bible and have some better reference. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then each week you'll be able to find the readings for the upcoming Wednesday devotion by looking at the bulletin that's posted each week. So we'll have that bulletin out there for you, and
Nice.
you can just look on there.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, what did you think of this week's readings?
Well, when I looked at Daniel and when I read Daniel and I read the commentaries and it talked about, the many metaphors about heaven and resurrection, it made me think about my uncle who passed away recently. And he spent some time in the hospital and prior to his death. And he hadn't gone to church a lot. I mean, he grew up in my dad's family, and of course they were faithful, but in his years, and maybe, and he got to know and didn't have really a church home, and he met the pastor in the hospital, a chaplain, and he really connected with her. And after he found out that his time was limited, he said to her, "What do you think heaven is like? What have you read and what have you learned?" And she said, "Well, there's different ideas." And she gave him some Bible passages, and he said, Do you think heaven would be like Christmas morning is for children?"
Oh,
and
That's a great idea.
yeah.
what a neat
And they talked about, and she said, "Well, tell me what you mean." And he talked about, the joy that children have that morning, and is that how he's going to feel when he gets to heaven? And so on the morning that he passed, the chaplain came, and when she got there, she whispered, "It's Christmas morning, Shorty. You can go home now."
Oh.
And so that was something she shared at his funeral. And that made me think about this in Daniel, where it talks about what heaven would be like in the resurrection, and what do we think heaven will be like, and what metaphors do we use. And I don't know, I kind of like Christmas morning for children.
Me too.
That joy that when we wake up that there will be. So that's...
Yeah, I've often thought of heaven as, my family lives at a distance, and so, when we go and visit them, there's just intense joy at being able to see them again, and so I always picture it as that kind of family reunion, that just intense joy. I agree. Christmas morning, I like that.
Yeah. That's a great way to think of it.
Especially since we're almost coming to the Advent. That's a perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Tracy, what did you come up with this week?
I thought almost all of these readings were like big epic movie. That's what I was thinking of. When I read each of them, I'm like, well, this description or this, it just seems larger than life.
Mm-hmm. Well, Daniel and Revelation are both what they call apocalyptic literature.
Yes.
And so that means larger than life.
Yeah.
End times kind of.
Yep. And I also thought it was really interesting that John, in the gospel, there's so many questions. It's question after question after question, back and forth between Jesus and Pilate. And so it just seems like Jesus is such a philosopher. You know, you can't quite grasp exactly what he's saying. He always wants to keep you on the fringe, and when I took this philosophy class in college, I was just like dumbfounded every day. I didn't know what to think. I was just like, well, yeah, I kind of see that, but yet there's this, and what about that? And I'm thinking, Jesus is such a philosopher. It's no wonder we can't understand.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking he kind of sounds like the chaplain that you just described, because she didn't answer his question. She simply said, well, what do you mean by that? And, you know, here's some resources that you can explore. And then, you know, tell me more about that. And kind of get that with Jesus too, you know. That
he's trying to pull things out
help them
of you.
conclude themselves, come to the answer themselves.
Well, and I thought too with John, as I was reading about it, this was an interesting commentary where they said, you know, as he's asking these questions, you know, Pilate is asking him, are you king of the Jews? Are you the king? Are you a king? And then it kind of went into what kind of king he was. And he was a much different ruler than Pilate, you know.
Definitely.
He didn't, and you know, like in Psalm where it talks about the robes with diamonds and, you know, God wears the robe of majesty and strength. And like Jesus was a kind of king, a very humble king, you know, who
love and
rode,
service.
That rode, you know, his mom rode on a donkey, you know, the lowest of animals, and was born in a stable and helped the lowest of the low. Unlike Pilate, who probably would have never been caught with those kind of people. And the different kind of king he was.
Jesus basically flipped it.
Yes.
Exact opposite.
Yes. Yeah. And then, you know, do we live like that? Do we, you know, do I? No.
Well, we try.
I try, but, you know, do I really?
That servant heart.
Does my life reflect that humble spirit of service? You know, we certainly can try, but something that I need to work on.
Well, I think that, you know, sometimes I feel like, you know, I constantly tell myself, you can do better, you can do better, you can do better. And I think it's okay for you to say, hey, I do that sometimes. Yeah. And be proud of that. And, you know, it's hard to do, but I know that you have a servant heart.
We try.
Yeah, I see it.
Try. But
what I really liked about John was I kind of zeroed in on that word truth. He says, you know, I was born for this, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice. And I thought of how often we want truth to be some kind of an objective reality. You know, like, tell me the truth, you know, and so we say something. It's a statement that describes reality. But here, Jesus is saying, you know, whoever belongs to the truth, that he is the truth. You know, I am the way and the truth and the life. And so truth really in John is a relationship with Christ. You know, we have a relationship with the truth. You know, it's not something that we believe or that we state. Or, and I really like that idea. Yeah,
it's a good way to look at that.
Yeah.
So whoever belongs to Christ.
Yeah. I was also thinking of 2 songs, and I don't know if these are, well, one of them I know the name of. So Psalm 93, it maybe our viewers, I'm not very good with my words, might want to look up these songs. Psalm 93 really made me think of how great is our God, because it starts robed in majesty. That's the first line. And then in Daniel, the Ancient of Days, there's a song, I think it's called Ancient of Days. It would be kind of neat to look up and listen to.
For Revelation, it would be the Canticle of Turning. That's hymn number 723. If they want to.
I love that hymn.
Yeah. And I also thought it was interesting in that Christ King Sunday, according to the commentary, was first instituted in 1925 by Pope Pius XI because his followers were being lured away by secularism of the world. And so he wanted to refocus them
In
to that truth.
1945, people were being led away. And still.
Yeah.
I think it happened long before that, Tracy.
Right. But I mean, it just doesn't stop, does it?
It doesn't.
It just keeps,
But unfortunately, we must
oh, there she goes again.
We must what?
stop.
Oh.
Our time
Oh,
is up.
our time.
And so we hope that we have given you something to think about, and that you will join us on Sunday and learn more about Christ the King Sunday and about these readings. So we hope you have a good week. Thanks for joining us.